Welcome, and you are tuning into Around the Table with the Judges podcast presented by PropertyGuru Property Report, the official magazine of Asia Property Awards and Asia Real Estate Summit. In this special series, you will meet the revered judging panel across our awards markets, from mainland China to India to Australia. We will also be diving into the nitty-gritty of the judging process and figure out why they are the most deserving to judge leading industry players. Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening once again to another episode of our Judges podcast. My name is Tina Ryan, and I'm your host throughout the series. We had such a lovely talk with our judges from the Philippines last time. Now we are pleased to introduce to you the esteemed judging panel of the 8th Annual PropertyGuru Vietnam Property Awards. Now, to kick this off, may we have our judges introduce themselves, starting with our dearest chairperson.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tien Duong. I'm the Managing Director of Transform Architecture.
Hi, everyone. I'm Chow Ta. I'm the Executive Director Transactions for SC Capital Partners.
I'm Paul Volodarsky from DFDL, the regional real estate head for the firm.
And I'm Ed Haysom. I'm from Australia, and I'm from Haysom Architects.
Thank you, everyone. Now, here's the first question. Since the inception of the awards program 17 years ago, we have sought the guidance and expertise of an independent panel of judges. To give our audience an insight into what you do behind the scenes, can you please explain to us your role in the awards program? Let's start with our dear chairperson.
I think our job is to assess projects fairly, in the hopes that when we select a winning project, it deserves it, And so, to be honest, you can see the wide range of professionals just in this little panel alone. We're 1/3 of the whole team. So for me, I approach it from a more design standpoint. Whereas Chow, I think you can explain your approach and the rest.
Yes, as you heard, I'm a lawyer by profession. So basically, coming in, leaving the architects and all to their profession. So more of looking at whether or not they satisfy the criteria, and then also because we are in the real estate market, myself working also for a real estate firm, we would know the status of where the projects are legally, so that we can clarify, or within ourselves as judges, we can be satisfied that they do in fact reach the criteria, or they are where they are in terms of the legal process of getting their permits, for example. So that's my take on my input into the judging process.
So I guess I can jump in. I'm also on the legal side. So I'll back up everything that Chow said. But, the other part of this is, from our perspective, we are brought into projects basically from inception until completion. And so our role is oftentimes seeing the progress of the project and really understanding, how it's developing. So when we're looking at these projects, we're really trying to understand, what are the developments in the market? What are the changes, not just from a construction perspective, but also from legal perspective, and looking at how that's developing in the market. And that really informs us in terms of expectations on designs and improvements in the quality of construction as we go through the process. And having been on the judging panel for a number of years, this is something that's been really interesting because we've seen fast development in Vietnam. And of course, it's always a good thing to see it.
From my point of view, I'm an architect, but I've always been interested in the relationship of the building to its community and to the community it serves. And the most successful buildings, both architecturally as well as financially, seem to be the ones that give the most to their community. And it's interesting, this afternoon I've just been involved in a very big discussion about a new project, which is a transformative project. And I got the developer to agree that the best design buildings are those ones that most benefit the community, and they are the ones that make the most money.
Thank you, judges. Now, each of you have been chosen because of your background in different fields. So throughout the years, you must have figured out your own preferences in a development or design, which makes us wonder, how do you let go of professional bias at the judging stage?
I think aside from the fact that, for example, I'm Vietnamese Canadian, and I practice architecture in Canada and in Bermuda, in the UK. So I come from a diverse kind of international background, as well as being in Vietnam for the last 18 years. But I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of infighting between the judges. We're all very passionate, and our bias, our subjective inclinations would probably we wouldn't get away, because it's eventually the winning project it would win because of the full kind of input from all the judges.
Val, Paul, Edward, feel free to jump in anytime.
Well, it's a consensus. I've been on the panel for some years, and it's always a consensus. And I'm not getting the green thingy. It's always a consensus, and we work together. People bring different inputs, and it works out. There's no fighting, no physical fighting yet.
I was going to say that, Edward. Yes, there's actually no physical fighting, but we lock ourselves in a room, 3-4 hours, and there would be a particular topic that all of us have a different view on, and then we would sit there and talk through. So actually, it's quite gritty. It's quite nitty gritty. It's heated in that room. And sometimes it's like, okay, this is an architectural point. This is a design point. I as a lawyer only input because to do with that developer. I heard this. We know that in market. So we put everything together, and then we say, but this is in your realm, you guys. So I think all of us, because each of us have our own profession, we actually meet each other at a very thin line and respect each other's professions as well. And that's where we got. So towards the end, and I think I've been in this as well for a very long time, ever since it was the inception, the first one. And it's always when the gala dinner happens and when we announce the winners, the heart always says, am I proud of hearing that? And then, no one's going to be happy. There will be people who think they should be winning and they didn't. And then we all know them because the market is so small. You get people asking, why did they win and not us? And you're going to have to put hands on heart and says, we sat in that room, we went to those sites, we visited, and we believe that winner was the rightful winner for that category for that year. So it was very tough, but like Ed said, no physical fighting.
Now, let's say the judges are unable to decide between two major candidates. How do you guys settle this? And who makes the final decision?
So we refer to the lawyers. That's when the lawyers comes in.
Yeah, we end up fighting it out. No, I think usually what we end up doing is, I think as all of my judges have said, we really respect everybody's perspective when it comes to the process, and everybody comes in with specific types of information that they can bring to the table that help to inform our decision. So when there are disagreements, and there certainly are when we're going through and looking at the project, some of us, have one perspective, others have another, and we really sit down and talk through what makes a good project. What are the things that we feel are exceptional, and what are we think are detriments to a particular project's success in getting an award in a particular category. We have this debate every year. We're constantly trying to figure out what is the right category for a project. Are they really meeting the criteria that we're looking for? And we really talk it through. It's not something that we just sort of submit a form and say, that's it, let's add up the numbers. We really do go through the process, and we really do want the best projects to win.
And I add to this also, I don't think it's been mentioned a lot, but all of us need to declare our conflict of interest. So, you've got service providers, architects, you've got lawyers that are acting for clients, that are doing the development in the past, in the future, all of that. So we would declare our conflicts of interest at the beginning. And then when it comes to voting, and especially at times where this question matters, is when there are two, what do we do? Then those that are conflicted will only give their views, and then that's it, they don't vote on it. But so it's and then we have also our independent auditor that sits with us in terms of, and all the time in that room, there are independent third parties that would listen to all of this and take note. So not as if we all go in there and just whatever goes. It's not that.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, just to show the transparency of our judging process. Sometimes, some judges, they would champion a project. Okay, so first of all, if they have conflict of interest, they're not allowed to vote in that category. Okay, I think to make that very clear, they're not allowed to vote. But sometimes, let's say there are two projects and you have two judges that are championing this particular project, and so they are very passionate. They would explain to the rest of the panel why they think that project should win. And then we give the other judge who's championing another project to talk about that one, and then we're all here listening to it, and we're like the jury, in that case. And then at the end of the day, if there's not a clear winner, we do a vote. Okay, it's a democratic kind of conclusion to that whole process.
Edward, would you like to add anything to that before I proceed to the next question?
I think one of the interesting things for me is that a few years ago, we had someone who was very strong on sustainability above everything else. And so they would really push, a successful project was the project that demonstrated the most sustainability. What was interesting about that is that through the judging process, they were able to ameliorate their views because they could see that there were other issues which probably superseded those in some instances. So it wasn't as if we were ignoring the sustainability, but there are other urban design issues or design issues or sales issues that corrected it. And I think that's the benefit of having people on the judging panel with different skill sets and interests. So it works well.
Now, this year, you added a plethora of new categories, mostly focused on residential. One category that stood out is the best wellness lifestyle development. How crucial is it to have this type of development in Vietnam and across the globe?
I guess
You want me to?
Chia, you can go.
We're all being very polite, giving each other chances to go first. You see how civilized this judging panel is.
But I'd like to be in that room though when you guys make that final decision. I want to see the action.
I think to answer that question, I think it's the trend. Trend meaning the trend where the market is today, where the population of Vietnam is today, in terms of the types of products that the population is looking for. So, the whole, this is my view anyway, I think the whole COVID experience for everybody, the worrying about health, about safety, about security for that. So I think that it's always been there in other developed countries, these kind of development residents, but not yet at a stage where it is something where investors fully invest in as a separate sector, if you follow what I'm trying to say. So I think it's an important item to add to the category, because it will, now you think it's the chicken or the egg. Do you start the trend or you wait for the trend to start and then you follow the trend, right? So somewhere, I think as big event, as promoting the real estate market of Vietnam, to put it forward to the rest of the world, then I think these kinds of categories need to drive we contribute, not we, these kinds of awards, recognitions, also help to steer and drive where the trend should be for a developing country like Vietnam. So I think that category, if you do that 5 years ago, it wouldn't be something that seems extravagant or what. But I think in today's terms, it's needed to push it to that next level.
It's interesting that what COVID's done is it's actually added a whole layer of stress and tension to our societies, and that people are people have lost their jobs, of course, but maybe regained them now. But they're under enormous personal stress, and I think it's great that we've got this category coming up, because it's not just the Vietnamese, it's not just for the people of Vietnam, but it's also promoting an export market, if you like. People can come to Vietnam, experience the beauties and wonder of Vietnam, and also get well. Win-win.
Yeah, I was actually in Thailand yesterday, and Thailand, as Paul knows, Paul was in Thailand before coming to Vietnam. And Thailand is a very mature market for real estate, and Vietnam, actually, Vietnam is the underdog at the moment. There's so much potential, and I hope a lot of developers and their consultants should be traveling around Asia and see what the competition's doing. And that's part of what this property guru and the Vietnam Property Awards are all about. It takes the best projects from Vietnam, and then it brings it to the grand finals, and then developers they actually get a chance to go there and look at what the competition is doing. I actually went to see some projects in Thailand, and amazing projects, just dealing with this whole wellness. And so Vietnam, we haven't seen it, to be honest. For me, I'm quite excited to see what Vietnam has to offer in this very new category.
I think from my side, what I've seen is a huge amount of interest from investors and hospitality brands looking to build these types of branded residences and wellness and lifestyles type residences in Vietnam. And we've seen a massive growth in that market over during COVID. I think, one of the other kind of consequences of COVID was that a lot of people realized that where they live and how they live in a space is really important. So when you're locked inside of your house for an extended period of time, having a place that feels more comfortable, that really caters to the lifestyle that you want to live when you're at home, is an important development in the market. Before you could move into a tiny 20 square meter apartment and feel fine because you could go out. But as some of the judges know, during lockdowns, you were stuck in your house for months at a time. And that space really became important. And I think what you're seeing is a development out of that, which is this focus on identifying and building these types of residential projects that really meet a greater purpose other than just a place to live.
Yeah, good point.
That is so true. I mean, living in a very tiny condo without a balcony and being stuck for 3 months kind of, made me lose my mind a bit. And so now it's like non-negotiable. We are in the process of moving, and also having how pet friendly our residential or like the developers are in Vietnam, because here in the Philippines, we're kind of not just getting started. And having a dog during the pandemic really saved my life. So,
interestingly, I went to a project in Thailand, one of the award-winning projects in that market, and they actually have started developing pet-friendly apartments, where they actually have little flaps to allow the dog to go out into the balcony. It's quite interesting. I think that's another level that Vietnam has. Another opportunity to develop something more specific.
Did you hear that? We're moving to Thailand. So another new category that we want to talk about is the best connectivity condo or housing development. Okay, what does connectivity mean in this context? Like the first thing I think of is connectivity is Wi-Fi. Tell me who wants to go first.
I think this has a lot to do with what Ed was talking about. Hey, Ed.
Yeah, it's the connectivity to the community, basically. I was showing these people today 2 horrible photographs of families having to have family dinners in front of the elevators in the elevator foyer, because there's no connectivity anywhere else in the building. And I think it's really critical that buildings like condominiums reach out beyond themselves and not only create spaces for people inside the building, but people outside the building. And I think, if I hope there's going to be a trend, some of these buildings we've seen in the past are quite selfish buildings, they just relate to each themselves. Whereas to me, the most successful ones are the ones that actually have a relationship outside.
I think it's also about amenities,
Amenity,
and it's about bringing the residents together. If a developer creates a lot of amenities, like of course the swimming pool and barbecue area, playground, even I saw a running track the other day.
Wow.
Around the even you can do that on the roof, and it's all linked to the wellness, and it's linked to connecting people, creating communities.
There you go. Building communities. That's very good. Now, the introduction of these new categories mean that the developments, designs, and solutions keep improving over time. How has the criteria for judging evolved to keep up with the times?
Well, I think, Vietnam's changed. Recently, there's a lot of out-of-town developments. Vietnam has a very, very long coast. So there's an influx of coastal projects. I've seen one of the first kind of building types of its kind is called coastal shophouses. Shophouses located near a resort near the sea. So yeah, I mean we have to change. And this year there's definitely, I don't know, what do you think, Chow and Paul, as you've been dealing a lot of these transactions, right? I think there's a lot less for this year, a lot less projects within Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, which is not the normal trend, right?
Yeah, and I think partially because we're running out of land in city centres in Ho Chi Minh City. So places are moving out further to coastal, as you say. And I think Vietnam becoming, or have been in the eyes of the world in the recent years, does provide that alternative to investors understanding or trying to of the same mindset, that they can see how such an investment would work in Vietnam based on what their understanding of what coastal would be in another country. But also, I think, and this goes again to, you'll see in the coming years, more and more developments are going to go out to that kind of area, less urbanized, less developed. Because post-COVID, I'm speaking as a tourist, a traveler, a person that wants to move houses from where I am today post-COVID, is that I would want to go somewhere where there are more alternatives. I don't know, alternatives captured everything, meaning if I was going to be locked down, I want to be locked down in a bigger space. I want to be locked down in fresher space, cleaner space, all of that. And so everything in center won't serve that purpose. It needs to be elsewhere. And then it goes to the mindset of travelers as well. So for those that invest in residents along the coast, right, shophouses along the coast, or second home residents, it would be that way, because what it means is now we can buy and we can travel, drive ourselves out, rather than be then glummed in, what is Vũng Tàu, a 2 hours drive, or, closer destinations, but packed, jam-packed with people, and you'll be fighting for food, you'll be fighting for parking and everything. You want to go somewhere out further. So yeah, I think that's going to be the trend for the next at least 5 years in terms of developments of these kinds of coastal residents.
Seeing it in Australia, where people are moving out of the CBDs and moving out of the capital cities and going to more regional areas. And in Brisbane, there's an enormous growth in both the North Coast and the South Coast. They're doing exactly what you've just said. And it's helped by the fact that the internet speed is improved significantly. So you don't actually have to be in the office anymore. You can actually do your work while you're in your bigger place.
Right.
And I think you're absolutely right, Joe. I think that's going to be the trend. We're going to see more and more of those things.
And we learned, sorry to add a little bit more, we learned during COVID here in Vietnam, especially being locked down, you don't need to be in your house. Go and rent a beach house in Da Nang, in Ho Chi Minh somewhere. You're still locked down, but you're in a different, a different space. And actually that is now becoming quite okay. It's okay because you can be anywhere and still working. And it's becoming not a norm, but an alternative to work modes, right? So actually, I think it's going to become much more, apartments is going to be that permanent thing where that's the permanent home. And then you have those homes that are more of the travel homes. Yeah.
Who doesn't want to work at the beach, right? Go ahead, Paul.
Exactly.
That's right.
I was
Even
just
if you
gonna
work 24 hours, you still feel like you're on a holiday. Although you can't do anything, you're just looking at it, but it's still better than not, right?
And I think just to add on to this, one of the other reasons I think that you see it a lot in Vietnam is because the residential market is really driven by Vietnamese buyers. So unlike some other jurisdictions in Southeast Asia that are more heavily driven by foreign investors that are purchasing up these types of properties, Vietnam is really driven by Vietnamese investors who are, increasing middle class and increasing wealthy, who are looking at alternative locations for their family to go, investment properties, these types of things, which are also driving that interest. And COVID, with the borders being closed for so long, I can say I had no problem with the borders being closed in Vietnam. I got to travel all over the country. There's so much to see. My wife and I got to go, as far north as Sapa, and to Dalat and other secondary cities that had kind of been ignored. And you're seeing this interest in country of people going, okay, well, I'd like to have a house here. I'd like to be able to spend more time in this city. There are places in Vietnam that a lot of foreigners have not heard of, like Can Tho, that I know Tien is doing projects there. And, you're seeing this massive development, and it's very much driven by the local market, not so much by foreign investors.
Now, Vietnam was among our awards market who received the highest number of entries last year. What is it that makes your country so dynamic that it has withstood the impact of pandemic?
It's a very, it's a very young population, sort of like this growing baby boomers of Vietnam are not retiring like you would have in the West. The baby boomers are now in their working age, and they're all hungry for properties, so the potential, and I'm not saying this to try to bring investors into Vietnam, even though I'm hinting at it, but the country needs more property. Again, I'm just referring because I just went to Bangkok, and I looked from my hotel, and it's like New York. It's like high rises everywhere you look, right? And look at. I'm looking out my window in Ho Chi Minh. It's very, very flat. So I'm thinking I think it's like 10% of what it could be. Not just the coastal, but the opportunity to improve the built environment within the main cities in the future.
Okay, now next question. Our audience may be unaware of this, but our judges devote their time for free to our awards program. So what is it that makes this role worthwhile to you all?
I'll jump in first if I can.
Yeah, you go.
I was going to say, I just love seeing the properties. For me, as someone who's stuck in, I think when you look at this background, you're thinking, oh, it must be interesting. But actually, I sit in this exact same spot for hours and hours and hours. And we work on these contracts, and we look at how to structure these projects, and looking at, how they're going up from a piece of paper. But being able to actually go out and see the site and see how they're developing, and, one of the fun things, at least for me, and I'll say this, I think most of the judges can agree that when we get images of projects and we go to see, they don't always match. And it's really important for us to get out there. And for me, I love to just be able to see this is actually what's happening. Because when you tell somebody, I worked on this project, or I had a minor role in this project, or, we bought this project, you want to say that you're really comfortable with what you've actually told people you worked on. And you get to see, how those projects develop. And then, of course, there's also the camaraderie with the judges, really getting interesting perspectives from everyone. We're all coming from kind of narrow focus. We have our area of expertise, and this really gives us all opportunity to learn from each other, and of course, improve ourselves in our field of practice. So just being able to do that is great for me. And of course, I loved seeing the development in Vietnam and being able to see, as cheesy as this sounds, the happy faces of the winners. And, it's always fun calling that out. And it's just a very enjoyable experience overall. I'm always happy to do it.
You learn a lot when you're a judge. You go and you see how people approach projects a different way. I always find it an incredible learning experience. I love it.
I'll add, I actually originally wanted to join the judging panel when VPA, Vietnam Property Awards, was first in Vietnam for the first time, because I wanted, sounds really terrible, but I'm going to do this. I want the award to be credible. Credible, not just to those that wins it, but to the rest of the world that sees it. Because I think the Vietnam property market, and I eat, breathe, sleep real estate. So for me, it's me wanting the Vietnamese real estate and the market and the people that makes it stand out and be known in the global market. So that was the passion in which why I wanted to be a judge on VPA when it first came. And that's why I wanted to stay all the way, because you see it evolves over time, and you see different judges come, different judges join, but there are those that are constant, and those constant and that are still here today. I think all our hearts are there for the real estate market, and we want it to be the shining star. All the real estate there are in Asia, because we're here in Vietnam. So actually, it's a patriotic. I'm Australian Vietnamese, but also a proud thing that we're in this country. We're making some way, somehow change to it. So yeah, it's free, but you get the different kind of satisfaction doing it. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think we're all professionals in this market, and so our little contributions to our own projects are very small, but for this awards, we get involved, to somehow in our little way affect the built environment in a positive way, So for us, it's about the, what Ed was mentioning about the community. It's about proper transactions, credibility. There are. I hate to say it, and it happens around the world. You have projects where the developers cannot build. And there's issues legally with the projects, and we have our lawyers on our panel who look at that, and in a way we're kind of recognizing good projects, good developers, but we're also helping to protect the buyers, the consumers. And for us, it's about credibility and our integrity. So when we say that this award, we're very proud to announce this winner. It's a real award. It's not something you upload to the internet and you get the award. And I think that's a key issue, which we're very proud of, or I am anyway.
Right. And sorry to end what Tim is saying, and I know he's alluding to things, but this is real. This is where we go, we see it, we judge it, we put our minds to it, we ask questions, and we put our hands to our heart. Whereas there's other awards that you can actually apply online and get it. So yeah, that's it.
Exactly. And I think there's something I forgot is that we are on the ground. You know, the panel of judges are international professionals who've, you know, Paul, you're from America, aren't you? You know, and so, you know, we come together, but we know the market. You know, we know what those projects are all about inside out.
Thank you, everyone. Now, before we end this episode, may we have our chairperson, Tien Duong, invite our leading developers and designers to participate in the 2022 edition of the PropertyGuru Vietnam Property Awards.
Yeah, I hope people enter. You know, I hope people enter and not, you know, not be concerned that they would lose, but be excited that they will win. You know, and to be honest, you know, aside from this whole kind of competition, they're there to have fun. They're there to see what the competition is doing and to learn, you know. And seriously, I've seen developers grow. I've seen local developers grow. And as a matter of fact, you know, the Vietnamese local developers have won best developer, you know, in certain years. So I'm very proud, you know, and it's not just that. I want to bring award-winning projects from Vietnam to the grand final and to win the grand final in the Best of Asia.
Right. I to that. I agree.
Thank you again, judges. Now, we would like to remind everyone that nominations are open until the 12th of August, so be sure to send in your entries on time. Submissions are accepted at asiapropertyawards.com. And special shout out to our sponsors and partner this year. We have Platinum sponsor Kohler, Gold sponsor Hafla and Saint Gobain, Vietnam. Local partner Oriental Media Vietnam, media partner Vietnam Heritage, official portal partner bacdongsan.com.vn, official magazine Property Guru Property Report, official PR partner TNH Communications, and official supervisor HLB. Once again, thank you so much, judges. Our deepest appreciation to all of you for generously devoting your time and expertise to our awards program. Other notable members are Alex Crane, David McDonald, Duc Trong, Hang Dang, John Francois Chevans, Mauro Gasparotti. And there you have it, the distinguished judging panel of the Property Guru Vietnam Property Awards. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.